Hey everyone, it's Mr. Richards here, and I'm going to take you through Lesson 10, which is the Summative Mini Project Caption Scenes. Now, in Lesson 10, you'll notice that there are 5 levels here. However, the levels are all linked apart from the number 1. Alright, so I'll show you this. This is just saying, take a look at this scene. Cool. We got a background, we got a couple sprites, and we have text. Awesome. Now remember, our requirements for this project are that we have to have at least 2 sprites, we need to have a background, and we need to have text. Okay, so this, which has a background, 2 sprites, and text, would easily get a 3, probably a 4, because it's pretty nicely done. Okay, so we can move on to part 2. Now, when you look at part 2, 3, 4, and 5, they are all linked. Alright, and the idea is you do one piece of the project on each level. However, if you want to do everything at once and not have to click, run all the time, or I'm sorry, finish all the time, you could just skip to part 5 and do all your work there. I'm going to go through these step by step, but you don't have to. Okay? So first, make a background. Now, we could just drag this over and pick a color and have a background. That is fine. However, the backgrounds that are just a solid color, in my opinion, are kind of boring. So what I like to do is use a sprite for the background. So I should talk you through this. We're going to click the animation tab over here, click new animation, click on the background, and we'll find something spacey. That looks cool. Oh, that's even cooler. I'll take that one on. All right. All right, so I've got this space landscape. All right. Now, what I like to do, this is a personal preference, I like to rename them because the names that are automatically made are kind of long and annoying to type out if you have to. So I like making them shorter and more descriptive. So this is background, okay? So now I'm going to go to my code and I'm going to put a sprite together. All right, so for a sprite, we need 3 lines of code. We need to declare the variable and make sure it's holding a sprite. Then we need to set the animation, and we have to then finally draw the sprite. All right, now it's a good idea to always name your sprites something that makes sense, and since this is going to be a background, I'm going to name it background. Now you'll notice that this name here and the name here are the same. That's just convenient, all right? The only thing that is required in this case is that this name and this name have to be exactly the same, okay? And when you're setting the animation, whatever you type in here has to exactly match the name that is in here, okay? So we just are using the same name for all of them, and that just makes it convenient to remember, I should say. And much easier to work with on an iPad, honestly. So now I've got my background will show up. Again, you have to declare, you have to initialize and make sure the computer knows it's holding a sprite. Then you have to set the animation using the dot notation, making sure that this name and this name are exactly the same, and that this name and this name are exactly the same. Okay, so we're done with the background part, so I'm going to move on to part 2, where we are going to add some more sprites. Notice all my work has been saved, right? So time to add some sprites. Now the requirement for this project, or the minimum requirement, is that you have 2 sprites. Well, one of my sprites is the background, so I technically only need to add 1 more. So I'm going to go back to my animations tab. I'm going to find one like this pink alien that I think looks kind of funny. So that's what I'm going to add. Again, alien pink underscore jump underscore 1. Super annoying to type in. So I'm just going to change it to alien. All right. And I'll have to do the same sort of series of things I had to do with the background, which is I have to create a sprite. I'm going to name an alien. I have to set the animation. And I have to make sure that the name of the animation matches the name, or the set animation here matches what I have it named over here. Again, in this case, the name of my sprite on the coding section and the name of the animation are all the same. So we'll run it, and we have an alien appearing. That is so cool. I would like my alien to appear like it's on the ground, so I'm going to put it at like This is where having a mouse is really handy. I'm going to put it at like 120, 315. All right. Awesome. Now it looks like the sprite is on the ground. That's cool. All right, so we got our 2 sprites. Time to finish and move on. And this time we are going to add some text. Okay, so adding text, we have our text adding is pretty straightforward. We just need to say that we're going to put text in here. And what you have to remember is that if I put the text there, all right, it is not going to show up. And the reason is because the sprite or draw sprites is called after the text. And so the text is appearing first, and it's going to be up in this left-hand corner because the location is 015. And then we draw the background over it, and then we draw the sprite over that. All right, so if we want that text to appear, it has to occur after the draw sprites command. By doing that, you'll see that we have the text appearing up here in the upper left. All right, now I don't want that text here. I want it down here. And so I'm going to put it at about 160, 260. All right, and you notice the way that I'm doing that is I'm kind of pointing where I want it with the mouse, rounding to the nearest whole number and saying good enough. All right, now that hello is a little small, so I'm going to make it a little bit larger. And remember, anything we do to modify text has to go before the actual text block. So I'm going to change that to size 24. That's much larger. The problem with it is that it is now on a background that has many different colors, and so that O looks a little silly. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to change the stroke and the fill, okay? So the stroke I'm going to have be white, and the fill I'm going to have be black. So now we should end up, there we go, with black letters that have a white outline, and I'm going to make that stroke a little bit bigger. I should say, yeah, the stroke is going to be, I want to give it a stroke of 5 to make that outline a little bit bigger. So now those letters stand out really, really clearly against the background, and I'm going to move that down and over a little bit, so it's going to be like 155 and 265. Awesome. That's kind of cool. All right, so now I have the requirements. I have 2 sprites. Here's my first one. Here's my second one. And I have some text. Now, I've added some things to modify this text to make it a little bit more clear. These are the kind of things that would bring you up from a 3 to a 4. However, remember, if you follow exactly what I've done here, so if you turn in a scene that looks very similar to mine, I'm not going to give you a 3 or a 4, I'm going to give you a 2. Okay, you do have to come up with your own scene in order to get at least a 3. All right, but I fulfilled the requirements, so I'm going to click finish here. The last step is just to take a look at all of this and make sure that you're happy with it. All right, looks pretty good. Awesome. So I'm going to click submit. All right. Once you click submit, and this is important that you do, okay, once you get to this, if you do all your work in part 2 or you do all your work in part 5, it doesn't really matter. Please make sure that at the end of this, that you click submit at the end of lesson 5 or the end of level 5. If you don't, I won't be able to grade it. So make sure you go through this, you're happy with it, and you click OK, submit. So it's done. Okay? All right, so that is lesson 10 project. Good luck with it, and remember, ask questions if you have any.